The Warhammer 40K galaxy is absolutely filled to the brim with uncountable mysteries and dark tales that would make even the hardiest inquisitor shake in his boots. From demonic psychers mind-controlling whole sectors of the galaxy, entire populations of billions of people disappearing in a single night, or even sentient suns that pulse with malevolent energies, calling fleets of dying ships lost in the warp to its burning embrace. 40K is a crazy place. Other tales can be much smaller in scale, yet be so horrifying that they break reality in twain if retold. With the release of the new 10th edition Grey Knights Codex, Games Workshop has suddenly started telling us that this ancient chapter of demon-fighting heroes, once built by Malcador the hero himself, is dying. New mysteries have unfolded on Titan, dangers thought long ago secured have started to stir once again, and with the Cicatrix Maledictum splitting the galaxy in half, the Brotherhood of the Grey Knights has fallen below half strength. In today's video, we are going to take a look at 5 brand new mysteries that the Grey Knights have received in their most recent update, and see if we can understand what has really been happening to them. How did thousands of diseased Grey Knight brothers disappear in a single night? Are the Grey Knights making a new kind of possessed space marine? Or are they scamming demons now for knowledge and power? Are the Grandmasters of the chapter really considering teleporting Titan away from the rest of the Imperium? And now that we know what the Terminus Decree is, are the Grey Knights finally going to use their Psi Titans from the Ordo Sinister? Because yeah, I'm not kidding, apparently they got those now. Most of today's deep dive has been sourced from the new 10th edition Grey Knights Codex, in combination with cross-referencing and comparing with the 7th and 8th edition codexes, and multiple excerpts from the Horus Heresy novel series. All that and a whole lot more in today's lore video. Let's get into the brand new 5 spooky Grey Knight mysteries. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Alright, let's get into the lore. Before we get into the mysteries themselves, there have actually been a bunch of updates to the Grey Knights lore that I need to cover first, so we can properly understand what is going on with this chapter and why there have been so many new mysteries popping up all of a sudden. Some of the lore updates are quite insane. The Grey Knights can even cure chaos corruption now. There are few brotherhoods within the Adeptus Astartes more secretive and important than the Grey Knights. These demon hunters are counted among mankind's greatest secret weapons, but they are also far more than just a weapon. The Imperial Guard are the Emperor's hammer, the Space Marine are his Angels of Death, the bulwark against terror. But the warriors of the Grey Knights are the Emperor's last gift to humanity, created right before he was interred upon the Golden Throne after defeating the Arch-Traitor Horus in single combat. The Horus Heresy, where half of the Emperor's sons turned against the Imperium and burned the galaxy in the name of the Chaos Gods, had left the Imperium a shadow of its former glory. Still, neither the Emperor nor Malcador the hero would let their great work die out in the millennia to come. During the War in the Webway, the greatest warriors of the Imperium, from the Legio Custodes, Silent Sisterhood and Martian Mechanicum, all died facing endless hordes of demons. Only with the Emperor's direct intervention was this gruesome war won at all. But the Emperor knew he could not wage war against the unending legions of chaos by himself. So it is believed that the Grey Knights were authorized to be formed, and with the help of his most trusted advisor, Malcador the hero, they were assembled. The Grey Knights gene seed does not come from any individual Primarch. Instead, it originates from the Emperor's own genetics, which, alongside the Moon of Titan, the Forge Moon of Daemons, a large array of unique equipment and esoteric knowledge, together form what we call the Emperor's Gift. To elevate them above the more common Space Marine chapters, the Grey Knights possess extra organs not shared with other genetic lineages. Yeah, not even Primaris Marines. Instead of just the normal implantation process, there are also many supernatural procedures and rituals required to finish a Grey Knight recruit, going far beyond what even the most veteran of Space Marine librarians would normally go through. Yet how has the Emperor's gift benefited the Imperium? Have the Grey Knights done more harm to the Imperium than good? Because if you didn't know, if you, a normal citizen, even had a chance to see them, your entire planet is doomed to exterminatus to keep the chapter a secret. And more importantly, are the Grey Knights still fulfilling their duty as the Imperium's apex demon hunters? Or have they changed their duties over time? Well, let's take a look at what their remaining brotherhoods are up to. As with many things in the modern Imperium, the fall of Cadia proved devastating for the Grey Knights. Entire brotherhoods and multiple grandmasters have gone missing, and some are believed to be dead. With more than ever demons roaming the material universe, the Grey Knights are pushed to their utter limit more than any other force within the Imperium. But for all their martial valor and powerful psychic abilities, the Grey Knights maintain many secrets. From their nemesis dreadknights to battleships, the Grey Knights have started to make use of forbidden Xenos technologies. Weapons made from Necron Blackstone, Wraithbone cores in their ships, and even darker materials are harnessed to save humanity. The galaxy has turned so dangerous that the chapter's paladins, the most elite warriors of their organization, have started to join their brothers on more battlefronts than ever before. Inquisitorial forces, from stormtroopers to well-connected Astartes chapters, such as the Red Hunters, Black Inculpators, and Exorcists, who debatedly might even be a successor chapter of the Grey Knights, depending on which source you follow, join the Grey Knights on many missions, even if they do not fully understand the esoteric goals of the Knights of Titan. On some worlds, like Bloodstained Armageddon, the Grey Knights have been forced to use false prophetic visions to trick the likes of Logan Grimnar and High Marshal Helbrecht to face endless cultist and demonic hordes so that the Grey Knights might banish Angron once again. In the eternal meat grinder that is mankind's survival, the Grey Knights are more important than ever before. But how much longer can they endure? At the chapter's height, it possessed 1,000 battle brothers across 8 brotherhoods, but with the Great Rift having stolen much of the chapter's strength, they numbered only a few hundred warriors across the entire galaxy. In response, the chapter has been forced to send forth all of its dreadnoughts. Not a single one of these powerful frames remains in reserve, which has resulted in wise warriors who might have been alive for millennia now, instead being lost forever. Their Mechanicus allies on the moon of Daemons work tirelessly to produce more dreadnoughts and weapons, but even they cannot keep up with the ever-growing demands of new esoteric wargear. Apothecaries and their paladin bodyguards work hard to save every piece of precious gene seed they can. In the darkest scenarios, these same apothecaries even use their psychic abilities, psi-enhanced healing bombs, and blessed potions to save a battle brother from warp corruption. With these tools, an apothecary can purge the most foul diseases of Nurgle, remutate curses of Tzeentch, cleanse Scorn's baleful rage, or even scrub Slaanesha's blissful influences from a battle brother the chapter cannot afford to lose. Yes, you heard that right. The Grey Knights can now officially purge Chaos corruption if they arrive in time to stem the corruption itself. But these tools are also a complete secret and are far too valuable to be shared with the rest of the Imperium. In such dark times, however, one must ask where Kaldor Drago is. You know, the Supreme Grandmaster of the Grey Knights, their greatest warrior and commander. And with the warp's grip on reality being as strong as it is, it should allow Drago to be more active than ever. Sadly, Kaldor Drago is still often absent. Many hundreds of brothers have tried to unbind his curse to no avail. And with his prolonged absence, they have decided that soon a new Supreme Grandmaster has to be chosen. Without an inspiring leader at the head of their armies, the Grey Knights will continue to suffer. Potential victories turned into horrible defeats with no leader to right their wrongs. The future of the Grey Knights has grown dark. To make matters worse, recruitment of the Grey Knights has become only more difficult as time passes on. The Master of Recruits dedicates much of his time to healing the Grey Knights' numbers alongside his company of gatherers. But even he knows that soon it will not be enough. This realization has led to the Grey Knights putting more pressure on the Black ships, stealing recruits from other Space Marine chapters, and even at times, killing fellow Imperials if they stand in the way of a new potential recruit. And those are all the main Grey Knight lore updates, besides the 5 insane mysteries we are going to now cover. Starting with mystery number 1, the dead fields are empty, the dead are gone. Were a Grey Knight to die, which, with their job as demon hunters, happens all the time, and their body is preservable and gene seed can be removed after expiration of the brother, then he may be taken home to Titan and be buried in the dead fields. Once upon a time, these fields were massive. Each Grey Knight was buried with the funeral rites of a king, every mausoleum unique and designed to honor that specific brother. Yet as time passed on, after much debate by the chapter's chaplains, it was decided that this practice had to end. The Grey Knights were to be buried as brothers, each equal to the other, in their graves right next to each other. This decision was made to ensure the spiritual health and purity of the chapter. The chaplains feared that the old practice would lead to arrogance and pride. It would be a small gesture, but it could cause loyal servants to fall into their own hubris and empower the gods of chaos. Even with this change, every Grey Knight still wishes to be buried in the dead fields. Today, the dead fields are consecrated crypts to lay honored warriors to rest. Before a battle brother is interred, his body is cleansed and the 666 words of sanctity are inscribed upon his skin. His armor and weapons are returned to the chapter's armory, though the heraldry of the fallen Grey Knight is often etched onto them in recognition of his deeds. All too often, however, a battle brother's body is lost forever to the tides of war and cannot be set in its rightful place in the dead fields. If the body is not available, then the warrior's name will be recorded in honor on the chamber's great basalt wall of remembrance, there to echo through eternity, alongside the very greatest of the chapter's heroes. So the chapter has honored its fallen warriors for millennia, yet in the wake of the Noctis Eterna, where the Cicatrix Maledictum cut the galaxy in half, the strangest tragedy ever has befallen the chapter. In a single night, all remains, skeletons, names and relics held within the dead fields vanished without a trace. There was not a single witness, and it has left the entire chapter deeply disquieted. But what makes this so significant? The gene seed of these fallen warriors has already been reclaimed, so surely the bones and corpses of the Grey Knights going missing is only an insult to the honor of the chapter and not a threat to the Imperium, right? Unfortunately, there is another layer to this mystery that makes it rather horrifying, and it is best explained with an excerpt from the novel Emperor's Gift, where we see the Grey Knight, known as Hyperion, interact with those who tend the dead fields. While the entire squad grieved for their fallen battle brother, it had become Hyperion's responsibility to deal with the ferryman. Yet when he saw the ferryman, he almost fell out of sync with his squad, still carrying the coffin of their brother. When he tried to reach out to the mind of the ferryman, he only felt a shadow in the warp, a man without a soul. They lowered their brother's coffin onto the hangar deck. Traditional words filtered back into Hyperion's mind, recalled through the discomfort of standing before the soulless figure. Looking at him made Hyperion's lips peel back from its teeth, and his sixth sense closed in a snap of loss, as if he'd suddenly been struck blind. The Inquisition made use of psychic nulls, mortals casting no soul echo in the warp, as anathema to all psychic activity in their proximity. Such creatures were useful as weapons, in their own servile, incorruptible ways. But it took effort to just stand near a hollow man. Hyperion wondered how he was even alive, and what genetic aberration allowed him to be born. Outwardly, he was one of the Grey Knights. His bulky physique was unarguably the result of the Adeptus Astartes genetic enhancement, yet he stood unarmed and unarmored, clad only in the patchwork grey robe that had clearly seen better years. Eyes of unremarkable blue watched each of Hyperion's squad in turn, before resting on the coffin they carried, until he lowered his shaved head in a nod of greeting. Who speaks for the fallen? Hyperion's revulsion got the better of him. What are you? Focus! Dumenidon hissed. Hyperion cleared his throat, forcing himself to look at the figure. Hyperion of Castien speaks for the fallen. Who bears our slain to the dead fields? Plagias of Titan will bear your slain to the dead fields. Present the sigillite symbol. The squad raised their left hands, showing the black symbol acid etched into the silver of their countless palms. All of them bore the same tattoo inked into the flesh of their hands beneath. We present the sigil of Malcador. The ferryman nodded a second time. Speak the name of the fallen, and the words to be engraved in memoriam. Hyperion considered trying to reach Mal, but Plagia's presence stole all hope of that. He couldn't sense anything outside his own skull. Hyperion had been chosen to speak. The responsibility of answering fell to him. Sotis of Castien, Knight of the Eighth Brotherhood, valiant to the last, revered by his brothers in life, remembered for the lessons taught by his dead. It will be so. Hyperion did not want to leave his brother's remains in the aberration's care. When a Grey Knight died, the ferryman cleansed and buried them, a tradition that had existed since the chapter's founding. Hyperion hated Pelgaras of Titan, but he also asked if he was once one of them. He did not get an answer. The Dead Fields lie within the Fortress Monastery of the Grey Knights. You know, the massive fortress of a Space Marine chapter, some of the safest places in the entire galaxy. On top of this, it is nearly impossible to reach Titan. Approaching the solar system is an all but near impossible task for any enemy. The Fortress of the Grey Knights itself is further protected by human serfs, the Inquisition, Grey Knight purifiers, and an entire cadre of the Librarius, with the Dead Fields specifically being guarded by the pariah ferryman. So, how did all of this happen? How did these corpses, remains, and relics disappear? It couldn't have been a demon, as many blanks are working the fields. Was it someone inside our chapter itself, betraying the Brotherhood to give the bones of his fallen brothers to demons or other organization in return for power? Well, with how loyal and how often these brothers are checked for corruption, that is also very unlikely. This is my own theory, but I believe the Legion of the Damned may have something to do with this. Just think about it. Who could walk upon any Imperial planet, take something from under the nose of dozens of psychic blanks, and then disappear in a single night, carrying every bone, corpse, and relic from an entire chapter? Maybe it was the Legion of the Damned, or maybe it was someone from our second mystery. The demons that the Grey Knights have started using in both battle and research. In a way, making their own possessed, loyalist demons. Who are the Grey Knights demons? Why did they start doing this? And what are they used for? With the Grey Knights on the back foot, their librarians have begun to ritually barter the souls of unfortunate humans with demonic entities. In return, the Grey Knights are offered the true names of demons to be added to the Liber Demonica with which to battle other demons. Yeah, the Grey Knights are bartering loyal souls in return for knowledge. But isn't this incredibly heretical? Even if it is, in the long term, this trait enables the Grey Knights to keep combating demons. And to make it slightly more palatable, these deals are more one-sided than they seem. Instead of actually getting the soul to devour, the demons are lured in, bound and warded into empty mortal shells the moment they approach too close. From these cages of flesh and blood, the captured demons are used in battle, often against their own kind. Caged demons and other warp entities can be turned into possessed warriors to enact a bloody vengeance on the ruinous powers, or, as we see with Eisenhorn, turned into a demon host as a beacon of psychic focus and knowledge. It is also through this method that the Grey Knights hope to permanently bind and entrap the demon, making it so that, in theory, the demon is forever trapped and can never harm humanity again. Although seen as weapons of last resort, These esoteric rituals are one of the many ways the Grey Knights continue their desperate struggle to defend humanity. In a certain sense, the Grey Knights are making loyalists possessed. While they use demons for this, it is also stated that other warp entities are also often used. Could this mean that perhaps something like the Legion of the Damned can be given mortal bodies to control, like the Gal Verbak? Or, more importantly, is this connected to the dead fields being found empty? What if the chapter's librarians have stolen these corpses to turn them into living weapons to combat the endless legions of the Warp? In any case, this new piece of lore opens up a lot of doors. From Imperial Demons, Grey Knights, Legion of the Damned-like brothers, to just loyalists possessed. It might even end up with a big inquisitorial civil war, as tensions between the Inquisition and Grey Knights have been rising in recent events, with the Inquisitors being blamed for the disappearance of Grandmaster Kovan Leorak. Talking about the Inquisition, Malcador made both the Inquisition and the Grey Knights to keep an eye on humanity, but in the meantime, to keep the chapter and its secret safe, he built a great Warp Nexus that can make entire planets vanish without explanation. So let's take a look at mystery number 3. Have the Grey Knights figured out how to use the Warp Nexus? And what are they gonna use it for? With the Emperor's gift came many wondrous and forbidden technologies, but perhaps the most important of them all is the Warp Nexus. Hidden deep within the Grey Knight Citadel upon Titan, the Warp Nexus moved the moon of Saturn entirely out of real space so it could be hidden within the Warp. While the secrets to this type of technology have been lost or carefully hidden, the Warp Nexus is still maintained by the chapter's tech marines. A chorus of trolls chant endless incantations to the machine spirits of the device, so that should Titan ever be threatened, it could once again hide within the Warp. During the time that Titan was hidden in the Warp, the founders of the Grey Knights chapter spent their time recruiting and training the first ever generation of Grey Knights to prepare them for the fight against endless hordes of demons. In hopes of keeping the Warp Nexus working, the Grey Knights have also taken a portion of Malcador the Hero's ashes, mixed with powdered silver and brimstone, to create a powerful protective ward around the Warp Nexus. The ward remains active, emitting a sharp tan of ozone, glowing with malevolence. To the Grey Knights, Malcador the Hero is held in high esteem. Deep within the Citadel of Titan, the Terminators of the First Brotherhood guard the tomb of Malcador. Reduced to ashes, the Grey Knights remembered him for his involvement in the creation of their chapter and for his sacrifice upon the Golden Throne. The Warp Nexus is not the only strange piece of technology used in the creation of the Grey Knights. When Malcador had 9 chosen Space Marine legends ready to create the new weapons with which to fight chaos, one would refuse him after seeing the Eldar Webway portal. Loken had served as a Luna Wolf, a son of Horus, the gatekeeper Cerberus, and a knight errant, but he would not serve as a Grey Knight if it meant he had to use Xenos technology. Not only do we get to see Malcador create the Grey Knights, we also get to see Loken refusing the hero, as seen in The Buried Dagger, one of my favorite stories in all of the Horus Heresy. Malcador gave Winter a command, and the robed man walked stiffly to the veiled shape below the drop cloth. Gathering up armfuls of the black silk, Winter pulled the covering away and let it fall to the floor. Revealed there was a tall arc of which appeared to be bone. The surface was detailed with alien icons and iridescent hemispheres that took on a soft, radiant glow as Malcador approached it. The sight of the construct gave shock to those there, but still, it gave Loken a hard pause. What is that doing here? Serving a greater cause. Now you understand what is at stake. You have been judged and found worthy. He glanced back at the assembled warriors. What was given to you is for only you. Consider it a gift, a final word of guidance from the Emperor himself. Winter laid his long-fingered hands on the glowing orbs that protruded from the sides of the bone arch, and as he did so, raw power from the battery modules arrayed around the chamber bled into the structure along sputtering cables. He shouldn't be able to do that, only one of them could. Winter has a purpose to fulfill, just as we do. Was that remorse or something else? Loken heard in the Sigillite's terse reply. He could not be certain. Your servile is not human. He never was. A faint sapphire glow began to gather in the crook of the arch, and Malcador looked up at it, the cold color casting his face with ghostly shades. Winter is he is what he needed to be, as am I, as are you. Thunder cracked around the chamber, and the glittering mote of light grew into a rippling, coruscanting ring, as Winter moved his hands in a complex dance, making glyphs in the static-filled air. The energy effect stabilized into a portal. Through it, Loken could see the hazy image of a smoky, orange-hued landscape, belted by harsh chemical rains. The rich odor of raw methane seeped back through the gateway. Titan, and the fortress there. Prepared, as I said. Malcador took a step towards the shimmering threshold. It is too dangerous to make the journey by starship, and time is no longer our ally. Quickly now, go through, and I will show you your destiny. The group advanced towards the portal, but Loken did not move. The Sigillite saw his hesitation and turned back to face him. Cryus, he began, but Loken raised a hand. No, said the warrior, producing the silver coin. I had another name once before, and I didn't take it. I am Garfield Loken. I was born as such, and death will know me as the same. Malcador's expression became stony. The Sigillite was not a man who was often refused. Consider carefully what you say next. The arc of your life will turn upon it. I have never been more certain of anything. With respect, Lord Regent, I refuse you. He tossed the silver coin into the air, and Malcador drew it into his clawed grip with a telekinetic pull. Whatever destiny I have, it lies on Terra, not Titan. Conflicted emotions passed over the Sigillite's face. It would have been a simple matter for the great Psyker to compel Loken to obey him and follow to the distant Saturnian moon. But what righteousness would there be in such an act? At length, the coin vanished into the folds of his robes. 8 will carry the day then. He looked up at the warrior, who now stood alone on the far side of the chamber. As you wish, Loken. Malcador stood silently by as Koyos, Jotun, and the other vanished through the gateway, with Winter trailing at their heels. When only 2 of them remained, Malcador gave Loken a tense look of farewell and turned away, towards the portal. Horus will destroy you, the Sigillite said quietly, without looking back, and Cerberus will not save you. We'll see. Loken replied, as the thunder cracked about him once again. For those that don't remember the characters that well, Winter is the half-Eldar, half-human hybrid that keeps trying to end his existence every time he finds out he is a clone for Malcador to toy with. Koyos is the original Tylos Rubio after he was corrupted by Erebus. Jotun is a rune priest, and we all know who Loken is, the main Luna Wolf, and later, besides Nathaniel Garrow, the main Knights Errant. But the Warp Nexus, Deadfields and Webway Portal are not the only things found on Titan. There are some way crazier dangers and relics on the moon. In a way, Titan's Citadel can be compared to the dark vaults underneath the Imperial Palace. And it might even be holding an entire Catan shard, or something even worse. Let's take a look at mystery number 4. What is inside the Chambers of Purity? Within the Grey Knights, 2 orders are counted as the chapter's most elite warriors. First, there's the Paladins, which in essence are their mightiest warriors. Each one is of considerable psychic might, and to become a Paladin, they must slay one of the most powerful demons the chapter has ever encountered. Yet this cadre is a stark contrast to the Purifiers. Any Grey Knight is perfectly suited to slay demons, but it is the Purifier who is a literal anathema to chaos. Demons do not just hate the presence of these warriors, but it is actively harmful to them to stay around a Purifier. Yet, the primary duty of the Purifiers is not to slay demons, but instead to hold vigil over the Chambers of Purity. Within the Citadel on Titan, the Grey Knights hold many relics and powerful weapons, and while many of these are displayed with pride, many more are kept hidden within the deepest vaults of the Chambers of Purity. These can be demonic relics, twisted trophies still filled with restless spirits clinging to life. Sometimes they are books, blades, and bones held immobile in gilded stasis caskets that fill niches around the chamber. The ancient technology and powerful will of the Purifiers keeping the demonic artifacts dormant. Another example is the Iron Grimoire, a secret tome penned by Malcador himself. and kept safe by the Supreme Grand Master. But this grimoire tells a much darker secret. Deep beneath the Citadel, there is a great evil, imprisoned by the Emperor of Mankind himself. This thing was fought and laid low, but could never be truly killed. The Emperor brought it here during the Unification Wars, and since the inception of the Grey Knights, at least one purifier must be stationed within this vault for all of eternity. When guards change, many more purifiers are brought in to keep an eye out, and as the new guard takes his place, they will close the door behind him, locking the purifiers within until new guards have to be brought in again. While the purifiers learn of this evil directly from their duty as its guardians, only the Supreme Grand Master is permitted to read the Iron Grimoire. According to the ancient tome, the very ground of Titan is a graven tomb. The Chambers of Purity are the oldest part of the Citadel and act as the capstone to this tomb on top of Mount Anarch. In the roughly 10,000 years of existence of the chapter, this tomb has shaken Titan multiple times. The very rock of the moon and Citadel shake, and during these periods, the purifiers seal their chambers even tighter. While these grim-faced wardens tend to their duty, the rest of the chapter holds its collective breath, hoping the tremors end, and that their purifier brothers may return. And so far, they always have. Rumors exist within the chapter, however, that deep within the Chambers of Purity, an Elder Webway Gate exists, bound in Stygian gloom. A primordial evil of unimaginable power presses against its wards. In recent times, with the Great Rift, the tremors happen more often, as whatever is inside seeks to break free. Of the 50 or so purifiers left within the Order, few will ever leave Titan, as their duty continues to get worse. And now it is time for the fifth, and honestly, most contentious mystery of the Grey Knights Codex. Let's take a look at the Terminus Decree and the side titans that may actually be part of the deal. You know, those blank-faced titans from the Horus Heresy from the Ordo Sinister. The Terminus Decree is said to be locked deep within the vaults of the Chambers of Purity, apparently held within the tomb of Malcador the Hero himself. Which, quick side note, immediately presents an interesting lore contradiction, as we now also know for certain that his tomb is located in the Chambers of the First Brotherhood, which are not connected to the Purifiers and their Chambers of Purity at all. But I digress. Resting within a simple wooden box, embellished with a golden seal, are a set of instructions. This artifact is recorded nowhere else in Imperial archives, and only the Supreme Grandmaster of the Grey Knights knows about its existence and how to open the box. It was once believed that in the darkest hour of humanity, when all hope seems lost, the Terminus Decree would either destroy the Imperium of Man or save it from certain doom. Yet recently, the contents of the Terminus Decree have finally been revealed to us, and it is rather grim. The decree is the Emperor's final command to the Grey Knights, namely that the Master of Mankind is never allowed to leave the Golden Throne. If the Emperor is returned to life, reborn in another's body, or ascends as a warp entity, the Grey Knights must return him to the Golden Throne on Terra. This task is so important that no one could ever succeed except for the Grey Knights. Yet the Terminus Decree does not explain how the Grey Knights might achieve this. Should they ever enact the Terminus Decree and try and recapture the Emperor to bring him back to the Imperial Palace, they would surely have to fight the Adeptus Custodes and their Sisters of Silence allies. There is no way these silver-armored Astartes are going to be let into the throne room to go mess with the most important device in human history, and hell, even lay their hands on the Emperor at all. So how would the Grey Knights do this? Do they possess any weapons that could fight and win against the Imperial Palace? And let's go through the list of what they're actually up against. Multiple thousands of Custodes, multiple thousands of Sisters of Silence, entire Mechanicus forces, 2 Warhound Titans, and an unknowable amount of Lucifer Black Imperial troops, and whatever amount of Servitors, automated defenses, and you know, maybe the entire Imperial Fist chapter. There is no way, right? What could they possibly bring against this? All of that, however, is only a surface level understanding of the Grey Knights. The chapter has its own menagerie of esoteric and world-ending weapons. Titan is orbited by a set of moons, which house weapons so powerful that even now, the Grey Knights fear using them. The chapter is capable of equipping all of its warriors in Terminator armor. They have their own psychic blanks, and possibly even those possessed warriors. On top of that, they can even bring dozens of the indomitable Nemesis Dread Knights, which can only be piloted by the strongest Grey Knights, turning a single warrior into something mighty enough to face a greater demon in single combat. In fact, 2 Nemesis Dread Knights led by a Grandmaster inside his own Dread Knight were capable of defeating the demon Primarch Angron. While one Dread Knight was destroyed, the second was only wounded, and the Grandmaster died as he pushed Angron into the warp with his own bare hands. This feat of 3 warriors taking on a Primarch is utterly unprecedented. Yet every one of these weapons pales in comparison to the chapter's most powerful asset. And no, that is not plot armor. The Grey Knights have a host of ancient Side Titans from the Ordo Sinister, preserved from before the Imperium even existed. Now, if you have watched my How Powerful Are Side Titans video, you already understand how insane this is. But for those not familiar with Side Titans, here is a short excerpt where the Side Titan Borealis Toon fights a demon behemoth. A monster so big and terrifying that it made the Khan and Valdor run back to the Imperial Palace later on during the Siege of Terra, as seen in Ordo Sinister. Borealis Toon's psychic might is ascending, but it cannot be brought into alignment yet. Hydragerum smiles. The demon before him has waited until just this moment to manifest. While the fresh Psyker ammunition meshes with the spirit of Borealis Toon, it is just a Titan like any other. Clever, he says to himself, and fires the turbo lasers. Spears of sun-bright fire stab at the demon. It changes, flowing forward like a flock of carrion birds. Borealis turns, weapons pivoting, slicing fire after the creature. It is faster. It passes through the Titan's void shields with a rippling boom. Curtains of light flash into being and vanish. Hydragerum stabs the machine back, but the demon is rising, its scattered form gathering into a serpentine body. Its substance is blurring, dust and shadows spilling behind it as it pushes against the presence of the Side Titan. Lesser creatures would be destroyed by the close presence of Borealis, but this beast is an exalted thing of chaos, and the warp pours into its being faster than it can be unmade. A long head of scales and teeth forms at the end of its body as it coils around the Titan. Hydragerum can only see darkness beyond the Titan's eyes. In the hollow projection, the demon's mouth opens again with a scream of burning cities. Fire cloaks Borealis Toon. Black lacquer blisters on its skin. The demon serpent vomits flame as it spirals around the Titan. The tide of lesser demons surges forward like plains jackals and carrion feeders made bold by the bleeding lion. Inside the Titan's skull, Hydragerum feels scorching heat spread over his skin. He is a psychic void, but he is linked to Borealis Toon by neural interface, and its damage is his pain. The air is vibrating as the crucible rotates in a blur. He needs time. He slams 2 of the cardinal elements of the crucible into sympathy with the 34th hexagrammatic resonance, and the fire in Borealis' Toon's bones cools. Its heat blistering skin shimmers, damage vanishing as though it had never been. The demon serpent hisses, and the fire pours from its throat, so hot that its core is blue, its edges white. Ice forms where the flames wash the Titan's skin. The Lich Way is quaking, alien pillars shatter and fall, splinters shattering and burning in the psychic gale. Lesser demons circle in the air and on the tunnel walls, eyes bright with fear and thirst. Bolt shells and last blasts rain down from Borealis Toon, cutting a circle through the waves of creatures boiling around it. The demon serpent rears in Hydragerum's hollow display. His hand plucks the rune of iron from the air as the crucible spins past him. Iron is the basest element in all those he can wield. Its control represented by a lump of raw ore. Rough lines across the lump's surface, forming words that have been dead to mankind for over 30 millennia. Hydragerum grips the iron and punches. The serpent is directly in front of Borealis' tune, hooded in fire, flowing like a silk ribbon snapping in the wind. The Titan's power fist lashes forward, ghost eyes scatters from fingers the size of tank barrels as they snap shut around the serpent's throat. Lightning sheets out, cold fire arcs from the closed fist. The serpent rides, spewing flame, its shape flickering and sliding between muscle, feathers, flesh and smoke. The Titan squeezes, pouring its essence into the grasp, strangling the creature, eating its essence. Hydragerum is sweating, feedback is bleeding into him across the neural link in his skull. The Crucible's current alignment cannot hold for much longer. The elements are pulling apart, the universe abhors stability, and the controls of a Psi Titan are the universe distilled and transmuted into symbols, levers and movements. He holds on, siphoning the power of the Titan into its fist. He needs to hold it for just a little longer. The demon becomes still in the Titan's grasp, and then it is not a creature, but an expanding column of fire and black smoke. It reaches up, spreading across the Lishway in an anvil-headed cloud. The blast wave tears lesser demons apart and spins them up into the embrace of a cyclone. Borealis' tune staggers, injured, but still fighting. This is a fight against one of the strongest demons ever encountered. In a way, maybe even stronger than all demon Primarchs combined, and a single Psi Titan can defeat it. These things were one of the few tools the Custodes and Sisters of Silence needed if they did not all want to die during the War of the Webway. One of these, if used right, can overpower the blackness of all Sisters in existence. It can send shockwaves of dread and soul-curdling screams that make even Custodes fall to their knees. And with its turbo laser cannons, and simply being a Warlord Titan as well, the gates of Terra might not hold as long as people would expect. For me personally, I believe that this Terminus Decree is a red herring. The fact is, we already know what the Terminus Decree actually is. We have known for years. During the Horus Heresy, Basilio Foe was captured by the Emperor and forced to make a genetic plague that can be engineered to kill any specific legion, marine or Primarch. It is a scalpel that can stop a legion from forming. It can also be a nuke of plague that would kill every single biologically engineered warrior in the entire galaxy. And this doesn't just kill the body, it kills the souls too. If it is adjusted just right, even the demon Primarchs could be obliterated forever, just like Horus was. But even if this is the real and new Terminus Decree, then there's still a great chance that the Grey Knights and Custodes would work together. After all, in the recent Era of Ruin book, we have learned that while a Custodian can disagree with the Emperor, they cannot disobey any of his orders. Even if this one was written by Malcador, it would still carry the seal of the Emperor, no matter what. As a whole, the Grey Knights have killed many millions of innocent people. Entire refugee fleets have been purged, regiments of Imperial Guards executed, and Space Marines and Inquisitorial forces mind-wiped. Yet these sacrifices and horrible actions have not saved millions or billions. No, the actions of the Grey Knights have saved hundreds of trillions. Also yes, this is canonical. This is paraphrased from the Codex directly. The future of Warhammer 40K still remains grim and dark, and whatever happens next, the Grey Knights are to be on the front stage with anything relating to the Warp. The Terminus Decree and the list of nightmare weapons of the Grey Knights are very intriguing, but I find the mystery of the Deadfields to be the most fascinating piece of lore from the new Codex. In many ways, the Grey Knights are treading a fine line between righteousness and heresy. It is possible that the Grey Knights could use their fallen brothers to replace casualties, similar to how the Thousand Sons utilized their Rubric Marines. For the first time in a while, I feel very excited about all the brand new lore in a codex. The 10th edition Grey Knights Codex actually kinda slaps, and if it's something you are interested in, I can definitely recommend it. Not for the rules though, I am not a massive fan of 10 myself. I'm a Horus Heresy 2.0 player true and true. But what do you think of all of this? Which of the 5 Grey Knight mysteries we covered today is the most interesting? Do you think the Deadfields are empty because the dead just decided to leave? Or do you think they turned into the Legion of the Damned to keep fighting even in death? How many side titans do you think the Grey Knights have now? And with all their new tech and crazy weapons like possible loyalist possessed, do you think they can now actually complete and take on the new Terminus Decree? Or do you still think it's absolute BS and it's just a lie to get every Grey Knight fan confused? Let me know your comments, ideas, suggestions, concerns and corrections down in the comment section below. If you think I deserved it with this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel a lot and it would make me very happy. Thank you for watching and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.